everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to the Division 2. Today, we are back on the Year 8 Season 2 PTS, diving into what is definitely my most anticipated aspect of this coming update, at least from what is available to us so far in testing, and that is the fabled PvP Rebalance. If you didn't know, I'm a diehard Division PvP fan. It is what hooked me on the Division 1 10 years ago. It is still what I play most today over any other content, and in light of that, I can be the first to tell you that the Division 2's PvP has been in sore need of balancing and just some love for many years now. Fortunately, as of the past few months, we finally have PvP dedicated devs back on the team, and so this update is seeing the beginning of that work rolling out in-game. It is important to note, though, before we go any further, they are not claiming that this singular update is the end-all be-all fix to PvP. Rather, what we're looking at today is phase 1 of a multi-phase plan with skills and attributes notably being absent from these changes. So we are still going to have a road ahead of us to tune these things up across the board. I also wanted to note, because I know if I don't mention it there will be endless comments about it, they have confirmed that an anti-cheat update is being delivered with this season. Will it be effective? I don't know, but they have acknowledged that PvP has to be fair if it's going to be fun, so I have all my fingers crossed. Now, all that being said, all of this new balancing, which we're going to look at, is active on the PTS right now, but a small problem with that, PvP is notoriously hard to test out in these kinds of environments. Unless you've got droves of people on standby to populate a dark zone or conflict matches to get these things rolling, which I happen to not, then you're really just at the mercy of the limited PTS player pool converging at the same time in the same place. So, as of recording this, I have had minimal PvP interactions on here so far. What few that I have likely already been playing in the background. This PTS build is also quite early. They've noted that many things on here are work in progress or not yet finalized, and so that makes it hard to give final conclusions on stuff as intricate as balancing. So my original intention with this video was to go all out with testing different setups, report on how some of the current day metas feel in here. Instead, I think we're going to take a bit more of a high level approach, look at what is being proposed, look through the patch notes for those of you who have not checked them out, and then perhaps come PTS Phase 2, which they did hint is likely, we can get a bit more into the mud and really see what's up. But for now, let's flip on over to those patch notes. Okay, so here we are. I will have these linked down in the description below in case you want to read through the entire notes for yourself. I'll admit, I'm feeling a little bit too lazy today to pop on every bit that we'll talk about on screen over gameplay, so we're just going to scroll through the actual PDF, but these are extensive changes, right? There are 33 pages in total here of changes coming to weapon talents, gear sets, exotics. I mean, the entire suite of things is here. What I want to make very clear, though, for anybody who has not been keeping up, is that these changes are only for PvP. On the left side here, these are the PvE versions of the talents, as you will see today in the live game. Everything being proposed will only activate when you enter into the Dark Zone or Conflict, and that normalization layer gets applied. So this is not a PvE balancing pass in any way, shape, or form. And so under that context, what you'll notice pretty quickly when you start going through this is that the vast majority of things have been tuned down in their power. I saw a lot of people saying when these dropped that, oh, they nerfed everything, and I guess you could technically put it that way, but essentially it's just one giant stat squish. If you're unfamiliar with that term, it is something they use in MMOs a lot, where basically the damage numbers just get so big that eventually you have to go in and tune everything down to bring it back to a more manageable level. And what they're really going for here is just trying to bring things down to lower lethality within PvP. PvP has suffered from mass stat inflation these past few years because they have not been separating those PvE and PvP balance changes. We've also seen weapon damage surpassing armor via the expertise system, so that balance has not been there. And so all of this really just aims to bring the time to kill in line. And so under those new parameters, where pretty much everything is lowered, you then have some existing outliers that get nerfed a bit. You have some things that get buffed a little bit, or you have some items that remain relatively the same, which I guess in this context would mean that they do slightly get buffed. But to give you some examples, let's look at a few of the big meta items and outliers in today's PvP meta. We're going to get real fancy here and use word search to skip through this 33-page document. So let's look at like Umbra, for example, right? Umbra is particularly strong within conflict due to the lack of a radar. You can sit in cover without anyone knowing you're there, build up some very strong buffs very quickly, and then take those back out into the fight. So in the live game, each stack that you get from Umbra gives you 1.2% crit damage and 0.4 RPM. RPM. Under this new balancing, you only get 0.5% crit damage and 2% RPM, along with a dramatically quicker decay time. Just because it's something I use with Umbra, you could also look at an item like the Tinkerer, which has caused a lot of problems in PvP due to its various exploits. With this update, they are making it so that it has no effect in PvP environments. They're taking everything into account here. Let's see, Streamline is a very popular talent to use with the Tinkerer. If we look at that over on weapon talents, it is being decreased from 42% damage down to 24. Or let's shift gears entirely and look at the Bighorn. That has of course been one of the most used weapons in the last few years within PvP due to how much damage it will allow you to stack up on a non-damage build. On the live game, each stack with the Bighorn gets you 6% headshot damage up to 25 times, so 150% damage at maximum stacks. Under this new paradigm, it will only give you 1% damage up to 20 times. That is a significant decrease, but then they've also adjusted the decay time to match that much lower threshold. I'm sure some people are going to be mad about that one happening, but it needed to happen. A lot of people also accentuate the Bighorn's talent with some key gear talents, Intimidate being one of those. This is getting cut in half, with previously each stack giving you 4%, that'll now be 2%. Intimidate is very often enabled by Adrenaline Rush on the backpack. If we take a look at that one, they're actually increasing its range by a little bit, but the armor that you receive is down from 20 to 8%, but then also the duration has been increased by a little bit. Let's see then, one last build class example I can give you is like Capacitor and Core Strength. This one I'm sure as well will make some people quite mad, but it was needed. The Capacitor is way too strong in the current balancing. I wager it will still be quite strong given that skills are not yet receiving the balance pass, and also its secondary damage to armor stats, which should not be there, will still exist. But it previously gave you 1.5% skill damage per stack, now it is 0.4. Stacks decay quicker as well, and then the weapon damage gained per skill tier is down from 7.5 to 3.4. As of late, the Capacitor is being abused the most alongside Core Strength, which is this season's new gear set. This one, thank goodness, is getting a significant reduction down from 75% shared attribute values by using the chess piece to 32 at most if you use that same chess piece. Meaning, if you want to still fully invest in it, you should still get decent return under this new balancing structure. But yeah, no more 6 skill tiers with 2 million armor and all the damage in the world. So, that all being said, some of you may be watching this and thinking, wow, well, every single thing that I would use has been nerfed. There are things that have been buffed as well. Like I said, if we look at Concussion, for example, that's one talent that has always been kind of decent, but it did very much seem to fall behind in the balancing just because of that aforementioned power creep. This is one that is getting a distinct buff. In the live game, this gives you 10% damage for 1.5 seconds upon hitting a headshot. That's now going to be 12% for 2 seconds. Another one that I know I've seen a few people being excited about is System Corruption. If we take a look at that, it's not as clear-cut of a buff because they have tweaked some things up and down, but you'll see that in the live game, every 20 seconds, you get 20% armor repaired and 50% bonus armor. Now it's a 22-second cooldown, slightly longer, but 33% armor repaired, which is up 40% bonus armor. But then they've also increased the total weapon damage cap that you can build. So especially in the context of so many other things being brought down, I totally expect to see a good number of people trying to make System Corruption work. We'll see how it goes. So, once again, that is just a small number of changes across the total amount of things they're changing. I encourage you to go and read through it for yourself if you're interested. Is every single change they're proposing here likely to be absolutely perfect? Probably not, but I do think they just need to start somewhere, right? PvP needs a lot of love, and so I think mass tuning the gear and weapon talents in the game is a good place to start. Are some people going to be mad that their favorite things are getting tuned down? I'm sure that is always the case, but listen, I'm here supporting this. My entire conflict build that I've been running for like a year straight, it just got nuked. Every single aspect of it got tuned down or removed completely. Umbra is no longer going to be as good. The Tinkerer does not work at all. Streamline, which is part of how I get so much damage, is being cut in half. But guess what? That's okay because that build was busted. I knew it. Everybody I went against knew it. Sometimes you need change as drastic as this to get the fun and creativity flowing again. Once again, this new balancing shift will not be perfect. Skills and status effect builds are still going to remain very strong given they have not received their tuning yet. So, pro tip for next season, have some hazard protection on hand to deal with those things. But yeah, that is more or less what we are looking at for next season in terms of PvP balancing. Keep in mind that this is on top of the fact that we are now receiving a Dark Zone that has Shade and Expertise levels disabled, so that will further reduce some of the stat inflation that we've seen over the years. And yeah, I'm very optimistic to see how this new landscape plays out. If you have access to the PTS, even if if you just are able to read over the patch notes while they're here, I encourage you to leave all of the feedback that you can for the team to look at and analyze, at least for those of you who care about PvP. I would assume those who don't are probably not watching anymore, but for my PvP fans out there, we've waited such a long time for this. Let's try and make it as good of an update as it can be. So whether you agree, disagree with the proposals given here, leave your thoughts. They're valuable. So there you go, everybody. That is about all I've got. I will continue to monitor the PvP balance proposals as we approach Year 8 Season 2. Again, I'll try and make a greater effort in PTS Phase 2 to really get in there and test out some of these things, but hopefully this gives you a bit of an idea on the direction that they're taking PvP, and yeah, I'll be curious to know what you think. Before we close out, have to give a major shout out and thank you to all of our channel members. Thank you so much for your support, keeping me around long enough to see PvP start to get some love once again. I never thought the day would come, but here we are. Thank you for everything. But yeah, that's all I've got, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you back soon. RogueGold. Ow. Oh! We just got a Ravenous! Haha! I might not be friendly. Let's go.
Coming to the Division 2.
Let's go!
And